Hi everyone, it's Via, and this is my second video within my Slytherin bullet journal series. In this video, I'm going to go over the process of creating my habit trackers and reading list for this month, as well as I'm going to talk about how I choose habits for my habit tracker, because I know a lot of people have questions about the types of habits they should include, how many habits they should include, and what the best way to keep track of them and make sure that you stay on top of them is. So I'm going to start off by taking some paper that I had already drawn a grid pattern on, and this is going to become the top part of my page. I'm just going to tear it in half and glue it to the tops of the pages to use as my title. While the glue is drying on those pages, I am going to write habits and reading list on a piece of brown paper bag using a soft brushed black pen. Next, I'm going to cut out the titles from the paper bag, trying as best as I can to make all of my lines straight and parallel. As the glue is now dry, I'm going to go and round the edges of the paper that I glued to the top of the page so that it matches the shape of the pages in my journal, and then I'm going to glue the titles on top of the green paper. Now it's time to move on to the habit trackers themselves. I already outlined the process of how I do this in one of my previous videos, so I'm not going to explain exactly how I do it, but I would like to note that since it is February, the length of the rectangle is going to be 3.5 inches so that I can fit 14 1/4 by 1/4 boxes in each row. I first started using habit trackers in my bullet journal during the second semester of my senior year of high school. I really wanted to build strong habits that would help me succeed when I got to college. Things like making my bed every day and reading my Bible every night. And that actually really helps me because a lot of the habits that I started then I still continue now, and I don't need to keep track of them anymore because it's become so ingrained as a part of my everyday life. That being said, I know that this isn't the best method for everyone. I think especially if you really are more into electronics and using apps, I think that that is also a great way to keep track of habits. I'm just going to explain a bit about how I make my habits because I think that's applicable to everyone, whether you're going to use a bullet journal, an app, or any other method. What I like to do when I sit down to create habits is I like to think of first, what are the goals that I have coming up either in the near future or even in the far future. So like I mentioned earlier, when I started doing habit trackers, I really wanted to become more independent and more of a responsible person before I went off to college. So most of the habits that I built then were in order to become the person that I wanted to be. Right now, I'm really focusing on trying to improve my mental health and my physical health as well. So most of my habits right now are really oriented at that. And you can basically break habits into several categories. Typically what I like to do is I always like to include at least one habit that caters to improving my physical health, one habit that's focused on improving my mental health, and one habit that's focused on improving my spiritual health. And lastly, I also like to include habits that are going to help me learn and to help me grow just as a person in general. And every month I usually do about 6 habits. I wouldn't recommend doing anything more than that, especially if you're just starting out at habit tracking. I would probably keep it down to a smaller number like 4. The habits that I have been recording for the first 4 months of 2021 are not looking at my phone for the first hour of every day, drinking a glass of water every morning, working out, practicing Korean, writing poetry, and reading my Bible every night. As this is only the second month that I've been focusing on most of these habits, though I do usually include working out and reading my Bible every month, I haven't been doing super great on all of them. I think the hardest one for me has definitely been trying to drink a glass of water every morning, because I just always forget and it's just so hard for me to remember. But there's also, I've seen a lot of improvement already from not looking at my phone for the first hour every day. And you're going to find when you do habits that some you're going to do better at and some are not going to be as good. And so that's why it's really important to do a mix of different types of habits, because some of them will definitely come more naturally to you than others. In addition, I also like to not include new habits every month, or at least not include a whole month full of new habits. If I introduce a new habit or two, I will usually do it slowly and keep some pre-existing habits that I've already been working on for a long time, so that I don't feel as discouraged when I start out and I just am not doing as well. And the way that I keep track of these is I have a different color for each habit and I color them in as the month goes on. Now I get to move on to the lettering for my reading list. All I'm going to do is use a watercolor brush and some paint to write a title for my current reading list and for my future reading list. Moving on to the final touches, all I have left to do now is add some shadow and highlights to the titles that I had written earlier, and also I'm going to take some stencils and write in the numbering for my reading lists. Here's what it looks like when it's all done. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate the support. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day.